Hi guys, I'm Kendall. I'm back again to do another video. Yay. So I got some requests after I made my confirmation bias and shipping video to do some other videos on some different topics. And I thought that the one that we're going to be discussing today was a little bit overdue for the fandom in my opinion. And one that I think some of my followers on Twitter are interested in. Some of the people who come to my Curious Cat and ask questions are interested in, so hopefully you guys will be as well. Excuse me. And it's a topic as well that, at least when it comes to the BTS fandom, I don't know if this is necessarily true for other K-pop group fandoms because I've only been in the BTS fandom, but it's a topic that it seems to be a little bit controversial, I guess, when you mention it online or when you even kind of bring up the word, and that word is fan service. So we're going to be discussing today in this video what fan service is, what it isn't, kind of some problems I have with fan service, and how it relates to shipping as well, because that seems to be where the topic finds its biggest prevalence and where it also receives its biggest backlash when you actually try to talk about it with other people. So I hope that you guys really enjoy this video today. I hope it's interesting, and I hope it's everything that you would want from this topic. So let's get started. First of all, discussing what is fan service, and I'm going to try when I edit this video to find a better editing software so that I can actually interweave some clips in here so that you guys have examples of what is and isn't fan service to actually visualize and look at. Like, you don't have to just listen to me talk about it. But if I don't, I will try my best to describe exactly what fan service is here. So I consider fan service to be, and I think this is a pretty good general definition that you could probably find anywhere on the internet, is that fan service is any act done on stage, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be done on stage. It can be in also different kinds of fan content as well, but it's any act in which the idol is primarily trying to get a reaction from the audience. It's done in a performative nature, and it's done with the audience's reaction first in mind. It's not really done as like I don't know if I want to use the word genuine, but it's not really like a natural reactionary sort of thing. Like when we have conversations with people in everyday life, you kind of just play off of what the person says to you. You play off their body language. You play off of their reactions to your actions. Fan service is very much the opposite. Oftentimes it's planned. Oftentimes it's also, as I said, specifically done with the thought of, oh, I'm going to do this thing with this person beside me because I know that the audience is going to love that, And that doesn't mean that the two people who are engaging in the fan service don't genuinely love each other or have a genuine connection and relationship behind the scenes. And that's where the BTS fandom in particular, excuse me, really seems to kind of not fully understand what fan service actually is. Fan service is very prevalent in terms of shipping and in terms of just different pairings within K-pop groups. It's often done with either a sexual sort of connotation or even sometimes a romantic connotation. So the fan service is often very physical, very touchy, lots of like touching each other's like abs and bodies, like getting really close, like two people having their faces really close so it looks like they're gonna kiss, back hugs, stuff like that. And as I said before, that doesn't mean that the relationship between the two people behind the scenes isn't genuine. It just means that while they're on stage, they want to perform for the audience. That's their job. That's what they're essentially being paid and, training to do. That's the whole purpose behind being an idol. And a lot of K-pop culture is these companies train their artists to play up to the fans first. And one of the major ways that they do that is through fan service. So fan service, I would say, is probably most prevalent in concerts. It's very prevalent sometimes at fan signs. There are some things that I've seen done at fan signs before that I would consider to be fan service. And also sometimes in just like variety type shows. I don't know the names of all of them because I'm pretty new to the BTS fandom still, and also just to like the K-pop fandom in general. But you know, those games that they play on those different shows, like the Pass the Paper game, where they're like essentially kissing just with like a little tiny sheet of paper in between their lips. That's fan service. And even some of the things and activities that I've seen the boys do in things like run episodes, you know, those activities are meant to, you know, bring joy to the fans. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And no one's saying that if the boys do engage in those types of things, the relationships behind the scenes aren't genuine. And that's what people don't really seem to understand. It's okay to acknowledge that fan service is a thing. Listen, and it's okay to acknowledge that fan service is a thing between your ship. I ship Taekook. I don't even ship Taekook. I think Taekook is real. And I am the very first person to acknowledge that everything that they do on stage, essentially, except for one moment, but we won't get into that moment because that's not what this video is about. I acknowledge that everything that they do on stage is fan service. Because I know that there's no possible way that if these two men well, I shouldn't say were, because I do believe that they are, that these two men who I believe are in an actual same-sex relationship from a country where homophobia is still very prevalent would ever genuinely do those things on stage with like a romantic connotation, because, you know, that wouldn't be okay in the eyes of the general public of South Korea. Acknowledging that Taekook does fan service make my ship like any less real per se in my mind? No, absolutely not. And it does. If you genuinely believe that your ship is real, it doesn't have to mean that either. It's just important to acknowledge if we want to make this distinction and acknowledge that this tool that K-pop has sort of created is an actual and legitimate thing that the boys do use. So my general guideline that I kind of go by in determining what is and what isn't fan service is I ask myself, is it done on stage? Is it done literally in the middle of the stage, like in front of those, cameras that they have right in front of the stage that like projects whoever's in the center, like on those big screens that they always have behind them that project to like the people way in the back of the audience, I guess, stadium, whatever. If it's done in that venue, it's fan service. If it's done in front of thousands of people with cameras and videos that can, take and record these moments and capture them and post them all over social media and keep them forever, that's fan service. If it's done in front of generally just like an entire group of people who are fans, it's fan service, which is why I say sometimes I also would categorize some of the things that the boys do at fan signs to be fan service, because that's literally just a venue full of ARMY who are there and want to have the best experience that they possibly can with the boys in that, however hour, I don't know how long fan signs are, but, however long period that they are in there. The boys are trying to give those fans the most personal and the best experience that they can have in that short period of time. And if that means playing up a little bit with each other, then that's what they're going to do. I mean, they do it individually sometimes too. I mean, you guys have seen the videos and the answers to questions that the boys give sometimes where it's like they're clearly trying to flirt with the fans to make them feel special and loved in that one moment. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And we as like, I don't know, a K-pop fandom in general would be much better off and would have a lot less fights like within the fandom if we could just acknowledge that fan service was a thing. Because most of the fighting that I see within like different ships is all because people are calling different moments with different ships fake or fan service or whatever. So now, so that I can kind of like define this for you more clearly and give you actual visuals of what moments that I consider to be fan service versus moments that I consider to not be fan service, I'm going to show you a few. So for example, we have fan service. And this is not fan service. 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 So I did mention before in the intro to this video that I also kind of wanted to talk about the problems that I have with fan service. I don't even know if it's necessarily like multiple problems, but there's definitely one. And that's the fact that fan service in general very much co-ops same-sex attraction and profits off of it and sensationalizes it in a pretty messy and gross way if you think about it. So if you guys aren't aware, and I'm sure all of you are if you're watching this video, South Korea is still highly homophobic. LGBTQ people are still stigmatized in the country. They don't have the legal right to marry. They can, it's not as if same-sex activity in general is illegal, but it is still highly stigmatized, as I said, and is not something that I think can generally be done openly from what I've read on the topic, because I have read a bit. The South Korean military is also highly homophobic. I actually read an article a couple of months ago now, but it came out in 2017. And it was through the Human Rights Campaign, and they had actually been pursuing an investigation into the South Korean military on the accusation that they had arrested a male officer after it was discovered that he had engaged in same-sex relations with another male officer. And in this process, they also actually pressured him to out other gay soldiers that he knew of that were currently working in the military. I'm not sure exactly what came of that investigation. That was just the one thing I found on the HRC's website. As far as I know, that man was jailed, but I don't know if the HRC actually further investigated their into that whole situation and whether or not they were able to actually do anything for that man. But that right there should kind of tell you how severe the situation is for LGBTQ people in South Korea. So it's pretty upsetting and pretty frustrating that this sort of same-sex attraction, this sort of homoeroticism is totally okay as long as it's only being done for pretend. And that's frustrating because we have artists like Holland who are being open about their sexuality from the get-go, who are working independently, writing their own music, producing their own music because they can't get the backing of a big South Korean music label to actually produce and release their music. He's being open and honest with his truth, yet he cannot be the same, he cannot achieve the same level of success that other K-pop idols do, simply because of the fact that he's been open from the get-go that he is gay. Then, we have all of these idols, and this isn't their fault. It's the culture, so I'm not blaming them. It's in no way any of these idols' fault that this has become such a prevalent thing in K-pop culture, but we have this huge, culture of fan service where essentially pretending to be gay and full-on kiss your bandmate for, the shrieks of teenage girls and of fanboys as well, it's a problem, We shouldn't have that thing exist solely for profit and solely for the pleasure of fans, because that's very much an example of fetishization of the LGBTQ community, while also not supporting actual LGBTQ artists who are simply expressing their truths through the expression of their sexuality. That's not okay, and that's a thing that needs to stop. Which is why I have a love-hate relationship with fan service, because while I love seeing the boys have this amazing genuine bond with one another where they can do these things on stage with each other and hug each other and just be loving to one another, but I also at the same time hate the fact that it is very much in a sense an act that fetishizes the LGBTQ community. And again, I'm not blaming the boys. I'm not blaming any of the idols who do these things, but I am blaming K-pop culture. And I just kind of want to address that in this video as well while we're talking about fan service, because I don't think it's something that the K-pop community as a whole really acknowledges the problems with. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was educating in terms of actually showing you what is fan service and what it isn't. And I hope just having that small discussion at the end about the problems with fan service also just kind of, is thought-provoking and kind of, provokes you guys to have discussions with maybe other members of the fandom of what you think about fan service. So let me know in the comments or on my Twitter or in my Curious Cat if you guys have any ideas about any videos that you'd like me to do in the future, because after I made that confirmation bias video, it seems like people were really super interested in me doing more types of videos like this. So if you have ideas, just, drop a comment and let me know. I can't promise that I'll always be super active in terms of posting videos because I am in college and I'm super busy because I have a job as well. But if there's a topic that you would like me to talk about, something that you just think would be a good idea for a video, let me know and I might use it in the future. But as I said before, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't super boring. I hope it was informative. And yeah, come talk to me about Taekook. Bye.